Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi there.
I know how many people are going to join us, but I'm in the car, and I will at least participate as much as I can. I think most people are assuming that we're going to be that the team is in Budapest and therefore not available. I'm going to turn my video off because I really shouldn't be um, having video game while I'm driving.
Martin, in
Um,
case it's needed, can you allow us to share screens?
oh, that's a great idea. Hang on. Host tools. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you host, and then you can figure it out because I tried to do this on my phone the other day. Make host. You have all the powers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to put this face down um, and turn off my video. There we go.
Welcome, everyone. I don't know how many people are going to join today. I know there's many people are in Budapest now. Not sure if they're going to join us. And I didn't know if anybody will have something you would like to share, discuss, talk about.
Yeah, it's great. Well, hopefully we get some voices, people who perhaps would be waiting for permission to speak. This is your official permission to speak. And yeah, I think that there's always so much that's going on. And even if it's like questions that you have that you're not sure whether it's okay to ask, it is okay to ask. And we have a lot of knowledgeable people here that have been um, seeing stuff and doing stuff and thinking about stuff. Um, yeah, this is, as I say, a great opportunity. I'll tell you one thing that I just did, which was to um, I I call them like a Phoenix project, right? Where it used to be when I produced a version of a piece of software, it meant like I was adding major functionality, and now I kind of don't think of it that way anymore because what I realize is that with every iteration, I'm creating at the same time a bunch of debt. Right? Like I I would think about a functional area, and then that functional area would bleed into other existing features, and then at some point, it all becomes a little messy. And so now I'm thinking, well, that functional area, perhaps every reincarnation is a new version, not every feature that I add. So maybe the point releases, those correspond to me adding a bunch of shit to my application. And the major releases, that's just a complete rebuild because you can do that now. Um, I think so. I'd be really interested to see if anyone else is having this sort of have related thoughts and have gone through complete reburns of software that they're building. Or maybe it's
What
just me.
what are complete reburns? What does it mean?
Well, if you think about turning your app back into a specification and then rebuilding your app from scratch again, all right? To me, that would be like a phoenix bird. It burns to the ashes and you um, build the thing again. The thing is reborn. So I'm saying like a major release is a reburn.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and with that comes a re-architecture, maybe a change of language. Yeah, you that's when you sort of say, this is a state-of-the-art transformation that not only adds sort of major functional features, but also, for example, replatforms or makes it distributed or um, hosts it in a completely different way. Maybe you're transforming, as I am, a Python app into a distributed WASM based application.
I do notice that with the era of AI now, it is much more common to have a proof of concept and now converting that into a performing application that should work beyond my machine and only then start coming some technology assumptions or like figuring out what's the right fit. I do find, and I would love to hear from others here, that's where Claude Code is not necessarily giving the the right perspective. It's more like, oh, sure, I'll do this with React, kind of choosing where it's comfortable with. And I'm interested in the prompts or the questions, which I'm usually using Grok for, of understanding, if this is my goal, what should be the technologies that I'm implementing or hosting or, and using for this, by showing it the end result of what I wish to create.
Oh, well, that's interesting because I kind of assumed that I would be telling it, but in truth, um, I'm not familiar with many application styles. I don't know that I'm the best authority on the matter. And what you're saying is that neither is Claude. I was assuming that Claude, under the auspices of Rooflet, would be well positioned to make that determination. And if it's not, and if you think that Grok, why Grok though?
I just love the Grok is my favorite chat application. I feel it's much more honest, trying to less please me and be more, you know, say the way it is. Actually, often when when I when I do it in sessions with Cloud Code and it gets to like make decisions, and because of AI, I can develop in technologies I have no clue about, right? But all of a sudden I have superpowers. So why not? If they're good at certain things, I would like to use them for what they're good at. So in certain session when it comes to decisions, I'm telling Cloud Code, put for me, I want to consult with Grok. Give me the prompt that I'll bring to Grok, and I'll
Oh
bring
my God.
back Grok's interpretation and insight, which is amazing to bring even, just a different model that look at the same problem, especially when it didn't work on trying to solve it, it come with better judgments. And I've seen numerous time that Claude was impressed with like, oh, Grok brought here even another point I didn't even think about before, and now we should shift the whole thing to the point that Grok was presenting. It had
Hmm.
to do with security aspects, and
And
so
will you're manually moving the prompts over?
yeah, I could absolutely should probably like pay the API key and have it integrated in a simple scale. But in the meantime, as I'm paying Grok subscription, I'm asking it, give me a prompt, I copy paste it, Grok is thinking about it, give me the end result, and I'm putting it back in. But it
Hmm.
also allows me to, like, if I think Grok was need a little more tuning before
Okay.
bringing the official answer, I have it in the Grok chat. So, but it worked really, really well for me, and that's where deciding on which technologies and like converting proof of concept to a bigger scale, like we need that, like that's where in my experience, usually Claude would just choose the technologies it's familiar with. Even when you like, let's say you want to use RuVector,
Yeah.
um, Claude would always almost like convince you, like, why do you have to? Like, there's all these other things that it's familiar with, and you need to kind of force it, like, no, this is the technology I need for reasons. So
Uh,
it's default kind of staying away and moving to technologies it's comfortable with, unless you're telling it which one and why, maybe why you want to do it that way.
right. So you're getting pushback that isn't necessarily appropriate. Okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna just mute myself for a second because I'm supposed to be picking up some things from the garden center, and a lady's come to help me. So give me a second.
Sure.
Hi,
Anyone else
Ofer.
want to share? Hey,
I wanted to offer just my experience and perspective because what the question sorry I didn't I've seen him before, but what is his name that just went on mute?
well, that Martin.
What was that?
Martin.
Martin, that's right. The question that Martin asked about entirely rebuilding a software. Um, I have a project that I'm in the middle of that is exactly that. And the idea of reimagining this is a working software, a working commercial software product. And um, I'm finding that I'm going to entirely rebuild it. And the way that I came to that was doing the analysis, providing enough context and research into what is the intention of the software, what are the goals that the software is trying to support, and then look at and provide, the code base and workflows and things to the AI. That's how, along with the AI, the decision was made, instead of adding new features on here in order to support some of the AI native stuff that is the desire to put into the software, re-architecting all of this and rebuilding all of that. So that's kind of what's happening. And it's funny that you should say Claude making decisions about what we should use for this, what we should use for that. And I'm not experienced enough or smart enough to know whether these are the best decisions. So what I have done is set up effectively two different access to the same GitHub repo and issues for Claude, and also for Codex, using the 5.5 high model. And I have them do kind of adversarial planning and review of each other's work, but also like individually, and then have them compare and contrast what the other has done. And interesting to me is that I will say for the last month and a half, most all of the opposing opinions or opposing decisions between Codex and Claude, I have looked at the reasoning and either chosen Codex, or upon having the Codex solution presented to Claude, Claude would then completely change its perspective and decide that this was a much better, or more more strategic choice for the reasons that were stated. And I didn't think of that, or I assumed this other thing that was purely an assumption, not something that I told it to assume. But I'm in the midst of, I have so many projects, but in this one in particular is the one that I'm actually doing this like Codex versus Claude Code. But in the Claude Code instance, I'm using Rooflow with all of the services and plugins loaded and initialized and turned on, and yeah, it's just before then I was building everything with Rooflow, that like all my projects, and then it was only because I maxed out my plan, I maxed out my max plan, and then started spending API tokens to the tune of like $100 a day. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until this resets. I have to wait like 1 week. And in that 1 week, I started using Codex, and some of my initial experience was really positive. So then I was like, when my Rooflow and Claude Code unlocked and came back, I started this kind of paradigm, and it's been really interesting over the last month.
Do you think there's going to be a concern on June 15th when the -P, like, I don't know how Rooflow interacts with Claude. I don't know whether it uses the -P mechanism underneath, and whether if I keep extra usage turned off, I'm going to find Rooflow hampered.
I don't know if Rooflow is using Claude-P at all, because I believe most interactions you have with Rooflow is from within the interactive Claude code. I think what Rooflow is doing is it's using MCP and sending sub-agents within your interactive. So I don't think June 15 going to change that. I don't know much, but
Roov addressed that or I shouldn't say addressed it, he acknowledged that the background the background agents that he has running, doing all kinds of things all the time, like monitoring and responding, things that are part of that RuFlow project. When he discussed that, the way I understood it was all of those background workers use -P. And
Right, but that's not RuFlow. That's like how he's doing things for his project. Is that correct?
well, some of the fun and smart things that he has RuFlow capable of doing, I assumed were using those background workers for learning, for storing of learnings and things like this. These were things that were happening kind of automatically without you having to prompt, say, oh, hey, what did you learn? Look at everything that you learned and now go store it. Those were things that were happening in the background that you didn't, as the user, don't have to do. So I don't know. When I heard him talk about it one time on one of these calls, and my impression was that, and this was when they first announced that this -P thing was a thing. Ruve was making comments that they're wrecking some things by these new all they're implementing constraints and casting them in the light of these are enhancements, or I don't know what, whatever, like good things. And that was the conversation that that Reuben was talking about, that
I
these
mean,
are actually
to
bad things.
me,
Like, yeah.
So to me, at some point, these corporations, they are behest to their investors, and we have had a free buffet to whet your appetite, and whereas no one said you could bring all your friends, and to me, anything that runs continuously and just consumes is all your friends, and spawning off background agents, even if it doesn't use -P, is in the same spirit as an all-you-can-eat for all your friends, not just for you, the interactive user. So, and part of the, and so the other factors in here are things like, well, I bought a Mac Mini that was a bit large on the basis that I knew at some point that would finish. And there are other cloud-based infrastructure that we can tap into. But, RuFlow is largely a black box to me. I don't know how it functions, etc.
Yeah, I just want to mention, Aaron, your desk is impressive. The setup you have there with all the screens.
Well, I used to be a trader. Well, I still am, but I'm not professional. And for anyone else, I only do my own stuff. But I'm from the day when I had an addiction
now
to
each one can be
monitors.
More screens are better.
So
Claude
Yeah.
code.
I have all of those, but the one that I'm talking to you on, I have a little more real estate in front of me than over there.
So I went to Claude Code and asked Claude Code, where is Claude P is being used in RuFlow? So the answer came back as background workers, hook workers, dispatch, daemon, HiveMind spawn, non-interactive does it. Claude Flow guidance headless is using it, and the dual mode Claude codex collaboration is using it. So there's 4 place MCP tools do not use it, and task tool sub agents do not use it. And I think the June 15 change, and I think for me it was also Opus 4.8 update change, is like a wake-up call to be familiar with more LLMs, what's out there. How do we not just give Anthropic more money because that's how they're setting things now? Meaning, yes, it could do loops and goals and it can work overnight, but it will be way beyond your subscription capabilities. So I'm looking much more now into what kind of harness and orchestration systems can we put together. One of the things I was talking to Ocean, he's coming to this group sometimes. He created the Lion AGI system. So different orchestration system that can use much more of our own CPU because, to switch directory and update a file, we might not need Claude-P, right? We could, Anthropic would be happy with that, but we might just use more efficient tools and get Opus 4.8 and systems like that only when we really need it. Because from
Local
vibe coding
models
to Claude
on
code,
Qwen
yeah.
35 billion right now runs easily on Mac laptop Max M4 last year. Runs awesome. So I started switching all my workflows into local models.
Yeah, and
Igor,
that's another
do you
option
have
that we
a
should be
do you
aware of.
have a harness, or did you build your own harness, or did you borrow from someone?
Actually, Claude, if you really like Claude Code workflows, you can literally just change a bunch of environment variables. It will switch to using local models. I'm actually switching heavily to Pi agent.
I know someone else who just said that. What do you like about it?
I'm still investigating, still playing with it. I like the fact that I can tell it, talk to it to tell it how to reconfigure itself. But it's kind of really, really wild west. So I still have my own reservations. But it's getting better every day.
Yeah, over in something that you mentioned with 4.8 and Cloud Code and whatever else. In my comparison, I have the max subscriptions for both or both OpenAI and Anthropic, and the Anthropic usage is dramatically more than OpenAI. Like I don't get anywhere close to using all, and I have 5, 6 projects running, not continuously, but more hours of the day than not running. And my OpenAI tokens, they don't go below the 60 something percentages for like my 5-hour or my weekly running like that. And for my Anthropic subscription, I can run it down. So that's just an interesting comparison.
It will get worse because those companies, think about this, you're paying a utility bill, fixed price. They're not interested to provide you the most efficient use of tokens for the price that you're paying. So it will get worse. But I will also add on my previous statement, I actually do have max subscription Claude, and I'm running it side by side with local models. And I'm using the Claude subscription for like really hard thinking, and actually tell it to please configure Pi for me this way. So you're using the high thinking expensive models to configure your local flows.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something similar, Igor. This one is a new M5 that I got as high as you could, as high as you could go with all the standard stuff without.
Amazing. I have the 64 gig.
But that's what this is gonna do, or that's the project that I'm gonna do on this one, is make it a machine like that.
Yeah, so for comparison, we got this like 64 gig last year, Max M4, and it cost like $4,000. Now it will cost $3,000, I would assume. So like $4,000 laptop runs like 35 billion model without even sweating. And I'm running multiple agents, multiple copies of the same model. So I think we're already past that inflection point where you can run really smart models locally.
They increased in price, though, didn't they? Like because of the RAM price levels and the fact that those Macs have unified memory that's accessible to the GPU. So my understanding is that if you bought last year, you'd have got a bargain compared with this year.
Yeah, the highest standard choice now is 256. They used to have 512 as an option that you could just upgrade to for a
RAM.
few $100s. Now you can't. Now you can't. So that one, this does not have, like, if you bought a maxed out M4 a year ago, you would have more RAM than that one does.
Right. And if you bought like an older generation, is there any utility in that? Because if what you need is memory that's accessible to the GPU, but you don't necessarily need an M4, that's what I'm thinking. I just wonder what that balance is.
Yeah, you can do
Yeah,
that.
and I don't know the answer. I'm not smart enough to answer. I did, like I said, I go on and I just move the dial to the most of all the things, and it's still almost, it's still around the same price. It's just it's a little over 4,000, but it is that in that specific way less.
Right.
Someone with their hands up.
That's Roble or Rob, the short form. But we already have a Rob Ranson here, so I always say Roble, you know. Yeah, I wanted to give you some more insight into what I'm developing. It's called IICP.network, which is literally BitTorrent for inferencing. Because Anthropic and OpenAI, they will bleed you dry. If you're not a rich kid, and sorry, Aaron, but you seem to be somebody who can afford these kind of things, then you will have quite some hard time to get your, let's say, projects ahead. And that's why I created IICP.network, which literally lets you, when it's finished and it's in the let's say it's 80% right now, it lets you spawn on your own machine a system like Olama or VLLM or LM Studio. You join the cloud, the mesh, and you will give your machine as a target for compute and inferencing, and you earn credits. And you let it run overnight, and you earn credits by that. And the next day or the same day, you can use it to send requests into the mesh. And you only provide one machine, but you can use 10 others or something. Yeah, so that's the plan. And today I pitched that to Mozilla Foundation. If you're interested, I can give you a short rundown. I need to share my screen. And regarding the older machine, I bought a used M3 Max MacBook with 128 GB of RAM, and because I couldn't afford an M5 Max, and it works. And I used to host Qwen 3.5, 3.6, 2.5, and something like that. But the quality of local hosted LLMs in conjunction with open code tools is not as good as you use Anthropic or OpenAI yet. But this will change. And my plan is the more people come together to pool their compute, like I don't know if you remember SETI at Home or something like that, or OpenFold, where you were providing compute to help researchers find answers to things which need high performance computing, and they didn't have it. So my plan is to do exactly that. So people pool their stuff together, and instead of talking to the API of Anthropic and OpenAI, you talk to the AI mesh, and you will have a lot more compute than you provide. So for example, you provide one part and you get back 5. So everybody contributes and everybody can use it. So that's the idea.
Yeah.
If I may,
Yeah, I
there is
great.
just 1 second. There is a whole research direction in that goes in MIT, the group called NAND. They have like a huge community already, literally around the same topic. If you're interested, I can give you references and pointers. I know those people.
Cool. You can if you are on LinkedIn, you can contact me, and then you can send it and talk about that. But if you want to have a look, go to IICP.network, and you can see how it looks today. I can show you some things.
The problem only, I wrote a bunch of articles on this topic that I was trying to work with the group. I had challenges. The problem is obviously security, right? The previous jobs needs to not to be affected by the next jobs. The problem is becoming, if you're running some content on a distributed machine, it needs to be cryptographically proven that they will be sandboxed properly, right? So when you're starting to do like resource sharing, especially with distributed loads, You need to be very, very careful about what's running where and what and how and why.
So that's why I have a separate control plane. I have a directory, I have an execution layer, and the directory only shows who is providing compute, and the endpoints talk encrypted. And I did a lot of research, which I also published on my page, ircp.network. So I'm aware of the issues. I'm not saying it's perfect, but for me, it's literally something which I think can be worked on together to make it the DNS of AI. That's what I'm trying to actually achieve here. So if you're curious, I can show it to you, or you look at it yourself on ircp.network.
I'd love to see it. I wrote in the comment, I think Jed mentioned that he's using something in Cloudflare, a little loophole, so he needs to have things in public. So he created a certain way to encrypt certain messages, and I believe that what helps him work in the public, but no one can actually touch that content. So maybe that's could be one of the solutions to help. I love the idea of this distribution of local on my machine or local on others' machine, earning credits. I would love to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think this point that there's some sort of bleed through is a fundamental problem. If there isn't a way to, or if it's very difficult to clear, then I can't see how a project generated by any individual is going to get beyond that. I always have this moment where my project sort of gains this whole new realm of possibility, and I think to myself, well, what am I getting in? What am I getting into? What it's interesting, but will it? Am I planting a fruit that I can't harvest because it takes my attention? And if it's never going to beat some other solution, I would rather have the bitter pill now, because there's so many things that are interesting and viable out there. So, do you know what the basis of this, if I've understood it right, bleed through is?
You asking me or Igor? He talked about this encryption thing.
Well, would encryption be sufficient to protect against it?
So maybe if I talk about what I'm trying to do is I'm an old network engineer, so maybe so you have a background. So I used to be routing, switching, firewalling, all that thing. So I created a whole new frame format on which includes the whole call, and this packet gets TLS encrypted. And
yeah, I don't doubt that the messages can get delivered securely to the end nodes. What I understood was the issue was that those nodes would not properly forget the work that they had been given. And if that's the case, then who are you trusting to get this work done? It's kind of like saying, I'm going to hire a stranger to get my work done, and assume that that stranger is not going to bring their frame of reference into the work that I'm asking them. Are they going to execute it cleanly? And they're not going to remember something after that work is done, i.e. leak it out into the world. And if this is not a transport issue or a shareage issue, this is how isolated is that node from future Empire work, if that makes sense.
yeah, I get it. So what I'm working right now is the whole relaying and addressing mechanism and the discovery mechanism to address and announce these resources in a directory, and that you can have a client that allows you to address that and talk to it. And you're right. If you have a backend like, let's say, VLLM or Llama or something, and you lock the traffic and the inferencing that is happening on that backend, you are right. You could lock what is happening in your system, and that would probably be an issue if you send very confidential stuff over this kind of inferencing network. But this would be then a next step on creating a backend, like a custom version of Olama, VLLM, or something, which does not allow you to lock that, or which uses the inferencing in some kind of sandboxed environment that you can not dump or read out, which you simply use to provide your inferencing. So this is the next step. But you're right, this could be an issue which you have to think about. But this is like 3-4 steps ahead. I'm right now at the whole coordination, discovery, reliability, trust between nodes and the directory, performance, how you find a node, how you distribute workloads and stuff like that. But yes, I understand.
Yeah, but if after you've finished all this, you're going to hit these problems that are intractable, and if there are competitive projects, this is what I mean about the bitter pill, right? So literally, I look at my project sometimes and go, well, what would I do if this, if all my effort here is actually a waste of time? And I'm not implying yours is. I'm just saying that this is a process I force myself to go through, because especially if there is a competitor project out there that other people trust more, then everyone's busy, everything's interesting. I could just say that was an interesting exercise, and or maybe even pivot the thing that I've been building into an area that doesn't have those issues. One other thing that struck me was that it is on the responsibility of the sender to recognize what is being sent and only send it to trusted parties, and to work locally on the things that should be held most closely, i.e. Sort of deep secrets and problematic things. And you might think that, oh, well, there are some trusted parties. Well, the things that are most hazardous to send are also the things that receivers might be falsely advertising for, i.e. somebody might want that sort of banking / insurance / health records because they are an adverse player, and they might advertise as being trustworthy, whereas actually they are just biding their time to mess you up. Yeah, just some thoughts.
But for example, these are the things I've been working on, like Sybil attacks and stuff like that, or unreliable or rogue clients that advertise something which they are not. So bottom line, if you're interested, have a look. I will when I talk to Igor, and he gives me this working group at MIT. I will try to get in touch with these guys, and for me to risk that somebody is developing something that is better than what I'm doing, then I will maybe contribute my stuff, or they will contribute their stuff. But I think if you don't try and try to if you don't try and try to achieve something you believe in, then you will never get ahead if you don't risk it. That's my personal opinion.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. From this, going back a topic, we were talking about exploiting local hardware and other cloud provisions, not least because of the June 15th background usage. Excuse me. Really, from a simplistic point of view, I would like if Ruflo proactively maybe analyze the traffic I give it and say things like, well, if you have a connection to Grok or a Mac Mini lying around with these capabilities, then you would save this number of dollars / tokens by connecting to it. I think that adding that into guidance would benefit many people in the community.
I think Ruflo already has some pieces of it. I don't know how to access it and if it's automatic, but I'm almost certain it has that ability of figuring out which tasks would be dealt with which models, including using your own and using others.
Right. So maybe I should just ask the guidance system, given the sort of traffic that you've seen from me, and given that I have a 24 gig Mac Mini kicking around, to guide me how to set it up. Yeah, I'll try it.
If anyone here has any recommendation or experience with harness and orchestration systems, I'd love to hear about it and try it out.
I mean, it'd be interesting to poll people as to how many people mainly are using Rooflow for, what percentage of their stuff, and then, what was it that caused them to go use something else. And I think, ad hoc conversations are great. At the same time, I think there's an opportunity to or systematically pull out things, insights, or at least suggestions of insights that either turn out to be, locally true but not globally true, or locally true and actually a leading indicator. Because what we most want, I guess, is the best acceleration. And even if only a few people are using it, if those few people are actually onto something, then it behooves us to, as a community, share that knowledge.
Yeah, I ended up using for different project without Rooflow and actually just testing Claude Code's abilities. And I did use the dash P experience because what was useful for me is keep working on small tasks in new sessions and not just feeling that I did not find a way in Claude Code Interactive to programmatically clear the session. The only way to go about it is to compact, and I'm not interested in the quality of compactation. So I'm using a bash script that know how to take tasks, work on them, and each one of them is using Claude P. So I'm trying to find new ways to work on small things and be done when it's done, where it seems like the Claude Code way is just like the amount of tokens in a session going to increase and the amount of cost of how expensive and slow this process would be.
And what about using Rooflow with, say, Codex or Grok or what have you? To what extent is that a substitutable experience? Because I haven't used them.
Yeah, same here. And I think many the other platforms are having skills and agents. They have different concepts. In that, I think Rooflow added some specifics of Claude Code, but I didn't try myself to, have Codex run Rooflow.
Yeah. To the extent that you get a certain amount of usage included without paying, what is the trade-off between paying for extra usage within a given framework versus using Rooflow as a meta harness to make the most of, say, 5 different subscriptions, all of which are at a non-extra usage basis.
What do you mean about this extra usage? Which part is that?
For example, in Claude, there's a switch on the dashboard to say you can bill me more when I run out of tokens included with my subscription. And I'm suspecting that when June 15th hits, that switch will slam a lot of my development shut. Might be wrong, but given what we've said before, that under the hood, Rooflow is using dash P, and I'm using Rooflow. At some point, I would imagine, hopefully, I'll be protected because I can't entertain this burning cash for the project. It just doesn't work that way. So, if rather than if Rooflow needs tokens and tokens are efficiently provided from other platforms such as Codex or Gemini, Grok, or my Mac Mini, preferably my Mac Mini first because I already pay for it, then optimizing for that use case and understanding what the impact of that would be is going to be a priority. Lots of people listening. Any more opinions?
I've seen like one of the estimation, because Anthropic doesn't actually say what's the usage, that it's kind of like 50, the ability to pay, the token you get for in subscription is 50 times less than what you would pay in tokens, right? So for $200, like I guess $10,000 worth. So that switch to, okay, you cannot use subscription, use token becomes extremely expensive.
Yeah. And it seems that a lot of these providers have put down the toll gate on the same day. Like you know, Atlassian, for example, they in their Robo AI have said that they are starting to be doing per usage billing as well, for building purposes at least. And you know, all those Atlassian vendors who have who are selling apps that they built agentically, if that app is burning tokens at runtime, that is now a cost that they hadn't anticipated because usually they've priced it assuming that those dev tokens were available for runtime usage. And they, in the Atlassian world at least, there is no way to pass on usage-based billing to customers. So that will screw up their business models. All right, anyone got anything else they want to present or talk about today? I'm busy trying to eat my lunch. Although I'm going to start picking on people. Michael, what have you got to say?
I don't have a lot to say at the moment. I have been using the LLM Fit executable, which is a free tool for evaluating what models will actually fit on your hardware.
Cool.
That's probably mentioned before, but it's just, I think it's called LLM Fit. So if you're trying to figure out how big you can go, that's a good way to do it. But I'm also on the lookout for something I can run locally on a my Mac is not, I've got an M2, so I'm not as lucky as the rest of the gang. But yeah, it's I'm curious to find an alternative, because as I'm paying the subscription for Claude, and if I had to pay what my CLI says I'm burning, it would be challenging, because I'm burning basically a month's worth of spend every day if I do it the API way. So it's and the free stuff is not going to come forever. Eventually they're going to throttle it back, or
Physical
maybe the
data
price will go
centers
down.
cost
I
money.
doubt it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the company going public now, as I think they had a silent IPO, they're definitely going to have a different set of priorities. And I don't know that that's going to work out for a group of folks that have really made the most of their free offerings. Or
yeah, the token maxers of the world, bringing all their friends to eat at the free buffet or the fixed price buffet. Okay.
But I like Rob's idea of having a distributed compute component. I want to look more closely at that project because I'd like something like that to exist. It would be great if there was an alternative that allowed people to distribute the compute, rent out their compute where they can, make it available to others, and it's a real opportunity to start to potentially move away from centralized command and control. But I think there's definitely some challenges.
Yeah, I mean that sort of bleed through scenario is not one that I'd ever heard of before, and I'm assuming it's correct. If it's not correct, and there's no issue, certainly this is a project I would opt into because I'm certainly not maxing out compute that I have at home at nighttime, and if it poses no risk to me, why wouldn't I do it? There's only an upside. Jose, have you got something to talk to us about today?
I'm here with the boss right here. I wish I was there in Hungary, but it was out of my budget to go over there and stay over there for this week. It was too quick. I didn't realize that there was this trip. I actually have managed to move from the 200 euros plan to the 100 euros plan, and I optimize the context so hard that actually I'm not able to burn the 100 euros now. So it's actually working pretty good, and it's very content. The amount of the way I'm handling the context is what controlling the whole token usage.
So do you want to run us through what you're doing?
Yeah, I will do it. I will do it. I don't know exactly how to explain it because what I did was I built something on top of Ruflo that is actually using Ruflo. It has its own memory system. So I built something similar to what Ruflo was offering, but what I put was the Postgres root vector Postgres, and what I did was like made a central brain. Okay, so what I did was connect Ruflo in one side and AQE in the other side. So I have like a main system that is in parallel controlling both as I was me, and that responsibility of context control is on my system. So I don't know how to explain it because I was for weeks working on the context because I had so many issues. There was burning so many tokens, and then I just cycle over optimization, constantly optimization, and then I found how to measure the amount of tokens that every sub agent was using and how to control it. So then I finally use. I can send the link of the repository, and I don't use directly other repositories. What I do is I cherry pick features that will help my system to do exactly what I need. But I'm not doing it myself. I'm pushing Claude to do it for me, of course, and then measure as much as I can. And what it's working now. So I need to figure out how to exactly I did it. I have to go through a process of clarifying with Claude what are exactly the things that can be used probably for Rooflow directly. And but that's what I'm doing. So every cycle that I do is I push Rooflow to do something. The answers go through directly to AQE for auditing and supervising that is correctly doing everything correct and there's no security problems. And then it answers back to Rooflow, and then Rooflow check what the audit say, and then works a little bit more, and finally reports back to my system. And the whole process of context is handled by my system in the middle. That's so far is working fine. Just that I don't find the way to keep it working for a long time. So it keeps asking me for input. So the next thing I want to share is how I handle the context, because it's a big plus for everybody. I was able to cut half of my consume of tokens, which was driving me crazy, and that's what is driving crazy to everyone, I guess.
Yeah. Well, of course, they don't want you to be efficient. The most efficient thing in principle I've seen is Brad Ross's AISP, which instead of communicating in English language, boils everything down to a symbolic sort of native.
I put it.
And it's
I
not
put it
only
on.
efficient, but it's precise.
No, I actually that's how I started my system. So I knew that, yeah. So I knew that the most critical thing was the communication between the agents, because they don't have to go back and forward in between them. So I put it as a main in the like when I started my system like 2 months ago, I think it was. One of the basic rules was that you have to communicate like this, and then I tested it, validation. Every process, every communication is we use the tool that was created by Brad, no? Yeah.
Brad, yeah.
So basically, it checks and validates that the communications are properly, but it's not enough. So they communicate properly. Then I reduce the amount of verbosity, of course. That was the first steps, and try to Claude have the constant push to be active, so it doesn't wait for Rooflow to finish things. It just waiting. It just waits for. It's trying to work in parallel every time, and then start doing something wrong. And then when Rooflow answers back, he says, "Oh, I was doing something wrong. The agent did something better than what I did." In the meantime, he's burning tokens, and it's just creating issues. So I put like 3 layers of rule that it has every time it pushes an action or a task, it have to wait for the answers. It's not allowed to do anything else. Just wait for the answers, and then it will process everything at the end. That helped a lot, for example. What else? But the biggest change was that I implemented something that is on a repo that I found, that what it does is just shrunk a lot the answers every time it's sent it to the owner. The problem is the quality. Sometimes I get answers from the agents or from Claude that it says that it was hard to understand what the agents were saying because the message was truncated, basically. So this method is very aggressive to cut the token. So basically, it leave the idea, but remove a lot of details that most of the time when you're doing certain tasks, you need all the details to make sure that everything is done properly. But I found out that like after 1 or 2 cycles of auditing, it's able to catch up and do whatever you have to do correctly.
But you don't
So
think that your drive for efficiency stripped out the details that then caused the downstream?
yeah, that's my concern. So I think it's very aggressive. That's why it cut token to half. But at the end is working, but is I don't know how much is affecting the results. That's the thing. I cannot measure that. I have
But it
to
could be an
run.
A/B test, right? Just do the
Yeah,
same
that
task.
will be, yeah, exactly. That will be the best. Okay, you run both in parallel, and one without it, and one with, and then measure how much and how many cycles I have to make one task. Depends on the task. That's the problem. Depends on the task. Have to be an easy one, then I have to be a hard one. So it's not just a A/B. It has to be like A, B, C, D, and D.
Yeah, it's a Monte Carlo simulation, right? You're testing
Yeah,
it.
that's
all
that's the
permutations.
problem. So yeah, so I'm not in the moment to do that now. So I'm working with it. I don't know how deep is in the system now, but sometimes Claude tells me, hey, this guy here was cutting everything. I have to go through this, and this to figure it out what the agents were saying. So I see it as very aggressive, but at least I'm able to. I'm not hitting the limit in 1 week.
Yeah.
Which
No, that's
before
big.
was
Yeah.
which before was constantly. So it
I
makes
have,
a lot of difference.
Jose, I can corroborate that. I only have max 100 right now, and for me it was rule vector and code graph. I don't know if you know code graph. If you code graph indexes your whole code base and it reduces the amount it needs to send into the context for Claude. And rule vector plus code graph, and I also use Centrox to assess the quality of the code, reduce the extreme, and I'm good with max 100, and it works quite fine. Yeah, and I code a lot. It's running
Another, I know. I don't know if it's similar. It sounds similar to Git Nexus. I think I don't know if you haven't seen Git Nexus. Git Nexus is it maps your it creates a map of your code. So basically, you don't have to go through the whole code base. So it doesn't read the code base, the code or the documents. It just goes straight to it and to what it's looking for. So basically, I implement, like I say, I don't use it as an external package. I went through a process of cherry picking the things from Git Nexus to include it on my project that will do exactly the same. So I want to map the whole my code base, and I use it as an external. So every time I want to check a foreigner or an external project, then I use the same tool to map it first, and then I start asking questions, what things I can pick from that project to improve mine. And then it's way better and easier that way because it's able to find more stuff. Because it was very, with all the stuff the roof have, the LLM gets crazy. It doesn't find the things that we're looking for. And then you have to go like 20 times around asking even if you know the answer and you ask it, it never finds what you're looking for.
The problem,
So
the problem is the context. As soon as the LLM loses the context, what you explained it before, and Roof and his tools are no exception to that. It doesn't where to look. So for me, I created CI/CD scripts for everything I've developed, so it can automatically update or push things. And sometimes Claude or Codex, it doesn't matter. It's as soon as it leaves the context, it forgets it's there, and it does all beginner mistakes again. So it's a natural limitations of the current technology in AI, and it's kind of pain in the ass, to be honest. And
Yeah, it
it's
is.
really something which needs you to be aware and then tell them, hey, you forgot about that. Please read at this or that and make sure that your whole ecosystem, which documents your project, is so watertight that it can stumble upon the things it needs to know. So that's why I'm using loops like crazy. I have a whole loop ecosystem which runs through the whole project. I have a project manager and documentation loops and stuff like that. So bottom line, it's the context, and that's why it
Yeah.
starts to forget things. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me like at least 3 or 4 weeks that I work 100% on context, and then I start seeing the difference. It's one of the most important things you can. I actually implemented a cache in for the context. There are many things it can be done. I have to. What I can do is I can ask Claude exactly what we have for controlling my context right now in the system, and then I will love to share it so everybody can try to use it or implement it.
Okay, well, where would you plan to share it so we know where to go for follow-up?
I can do that next week on the Fridays, I guess.
Okay. Or if there's a WhatsApp or a Discord channel that you're in.
Yes, I'm in the Discord, and then I'm in the WhatsApp. In the
Recording in progress.
in the coding group. I can do in the coding group.
Sorry, that echoed me.
Yeah. It's like the problem is I don't have it like a separate package. It's all integrated, so I need to figure it out. What tools exactly I'm using and how they work that can be actually used directly as a package, or that's what I was planning. I was planning to make a package of it, so it's like a context engineering thing that will be just plug and play, and then it will manage context for even for Ruflo, or well, now the Ruflo is moving into Claude code packages. Then I can try to do that, and then if it works, that would be awesome. So I can open source it, and then people can use it.
Yeah.
That's my plan. That was always my plan. It's just that I haven't had the time to just use the tokens for that.
Okay. Great. We're at about 1:15. Does anybody else want to chime in while we've got a few minutes left?
I just want to ask Jose if he can share the repository if it's a public one.
No, the one that I have is not public.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not public. But what like I say, I would like to take the things for the context engineering that I did and try to make it as a plugin or something like that the people can just use it and then open source it.
Great.
That'll be
All
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that was an interesting conversation. So thanks everyone for turning up today. It's been a small group, but it's nicer, I feel, when you can have a free-flowing conversation. You got time to think between some of the questions. There's no right way. It's just who shows up and giving value to each other. So
I'm not sure whether there'll be a session tomorrow, but I think Ruth normally does prioritize that one. So we shall see, and watch out for Nick's email in your inbox because I'm sure he'll announce it.
Okay.
All right. So with that, I will close it. Well, actually, I can't close the meeting. Ofa has hosts, so he'll to do so.
It'll stay open forever.
Thank
Thank you all
you.
for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Even
Cheers.
Bye bye.